We began with the famous hadith in Sahih, the Tarikh of Ibn Asakir, which is oft quoted, many times it is an authentic hadith, where Abdullah ibn Hawala said, we were with the Prophet ﷺ and we complained to him how poor we were and that we didn't even have clothes to wear. We're complaining to him. So the Prophet ﷺ said, rejoice, don't worry about that. For I am not worried that you will live in poverty. La wallah, I'm not worried that you're going to live in poverty. Wallahi, this ummah will be in continual good until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens up the lands of the Faris, the Persians, and the lands of the Romans, that's the Byzantine Empire, and the lands of Himyar, that is Yemen. So in Mecca, the Prophet ﷺ predicted, don't worry, we will conquer the Persian Empire, and that happened. And we will conquer the Byzantine Empire, and that happened. Jazakallah khair. And we will conquer Yemen, and all of that happened. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, you will become 3 armies. So he said, you will become. This is the ummah. This is the civil war we talked about between the Muslims. You will become 3 armies. Jund bil Sham, wa Jund bil Iraq, wa Jund bil Yemen. An army will be in Sham, an army will be in Iraq, and an army will be in Yemen. And wealth will be so much that a man will be given 100 dinars. Now 100 dinars, maybe if I were to say in our times, like $5,000. It's a large amount, but not an obscenely large amount. 5,000 is no joke. 100 dinars is a good amount of money, right? A person will be given 100 dinars and think, this is nothing. This is not a good amount. In other words, wealth will be so much that a good amount of wealth would be considered utterly trivial. Ibn Hawala said, Ya Rasulullah, when that happens, which of these 3 armies should I be with? Which of these 3 armies should I be with? The Prophet ﷺ said, I tell you to be in the army of Ash-Sham, of Syria, because it is the chosen of Allah's people, and it is where the Qiyamah will take place. So the Prophet ﷺ predicted that there will be 3 armies, an army in Sham, an army in Iraq, and an army in Yemen. And he told Ibn Hawala, choose the army in Yemen. I already mentioned, in Sham. I already mentioned another hadith that I mentioned right before going for Hajj. We mentioned that when I mentioned the concept of the Mahdi. We went over this hadith quickly. It is in the 6 books, the authentic hadith, Sunan Ibn Majah, where our Prophet ﷺ said, this is about the Mahdi. We jumped to the Mahdi part. There was a phrase there I glossed over, and that is, يَقْتَتِلُ عِنْدَ كَنْزِكُمْ ثَلَاث كُلُّهُمْ إِبْنَ خَلِيفَةٍ. 3 sons of a Khalifa will fight amongst you at your treasures, for your treasures. What treasure is this? Some have said this is the treasure in Mecca. There was a treasure buried once upon a time, but the hadith doesn't mention Mecca, and it is my opinion, it doesn't make sense to interpret it as Mecca. Rather, there will be a treasure of the ummah. Oil, natural resource, Allah knows best. There will be a treasure belonging to the ummah. And 3 sons of a Khalifa, 3 princes, all of their fathers are royal family, all of their fathers are ruling. So 3 sons of a Khalifa will fight one another. So these are within the ummah. This is the internal civil war that we talked about. And none of them will be victorious. They're all 3 gonna fail. None of them will be victorious. And then the black flags will come from Khurasan, and then the Mahdi, and then the hadith goes on. So we jump to the Mahdi, but where does it begin? There will be an internal civil war. And what this hadith shows is that the Mahdi will come at a time when the Muslim ummah itself is internally fighting. And the Mahdi will unify the ummah from within. This is pretty clear, that the Mahdi will unify the ummah. The ummah will need a leader. The ummah will need somebody they can trust, somebody whose integrity is beyond doubt, and the person that they will look to and the person they will unanimously go behind is none other than the Mahdi. So there will be massive civil war, but the Mahdi comes and that civil war will be finished, because how can now you fight when the Mahdi is there? So this is a very clear indication that there shall be a time of massive internal civil war between the ummah. And frankly, when you look at what is happening now with the internal superpowers, and I don't like mentioning names, but you use your common sense and knowledge of politics. Right now, there's already massive wars going on. Right now, Muslims are dividing amongst themselves each one of them doing its own, and Muslims are being harmed in the process. Allahul Musta'an. What's even worse, by the way, is that these are being used by non-Muslims, right? The problem comes, the superpowers of the world are using their proxies in these regions. Each one of them thinks that they will be the lapdog of the big superpower. In reality, the superpowers never care about their lapdogs. In any case, I go into my tangents here. What I'm saying, we should be slightly terrified. No, we should be very terrified, looking at what is happening in the world and looking at these ahadith about the end of times, and Allah knows best. So this is the issue of the internal war.